It's a beautiful spring day outside of the Cleveland State University campus. Today is Monday, April 14th, 2025 at 12:32 p.m. Eastern in Cleveland, Ohio. There you can see the Cleveland State University Student Center. You've got Rhodes Tower peeking up in the sky as the university's tallest building. This is at the intersection of Euclid Avenue and East 22nd Street. We're going to do a little bit of an outdoor spring walk around the campus and some of the local places you can eat. For perspective, if you head on that way, that would be going further east. You can take the Health Line down Euclid Avenue. If you keep on going far east, that would take you toward University Circle and also Case Western Reserve University and further on to the east side. There's some more of the campus presence down that way, which we'll cover. But if we turn around behind us, you've got some spring flowers, a little bit of the cherry blossoms. And this is the College of Health building. Also, the CSU Health and Wellness Center is located inside there. This is it's been around for a while, but this is one of the university's newer buildings. Back in the day, this is where Viking Hall, one of the dormitory areas, used to be, and then Raska House Pizza used to be located over here, and behind Raska House was Peabody's. This is also one of the few spots on Euclid Avenue that actually has the building set away from the street and has a green space. I know as we'll see later on, the courtyard area for the College of Science building also has that feature, and there's a little bit of a greenery for the student center, but it's just like the depths that it is far back is different. So like I said, there's the CSU Student Center. We've had a variety of places, food places, that have changed over the years, but over there where those red umbrellas are in that patio, that is currently a Chick-fil-A. Before that used to be a Chili's, and then before that used to be Bar Uno. But right now it's a Chick-fil-A. And then there's been a variety of coffee places over here, but the latest one they changed to was there's a Starbucks now located in there. On the second floor of the student center, you have the food court area, as well as a few other dining options. The third floor of the student center has the ballrooms where they host big events, and sometimes, depending on the event, it might be catered or not. There's also plenty of seating in that area, and then there's a first floor atrium where they have various events sometimes. So this is East 21st Street in Euclid. Down that way is the Stephanie Tubbs Jones Transit Center. Some of the buses that go to the CSU campus from either the west side or east side of Cleveland end up convening there, particularly the 55 bus that goes to Lakewood and Bay Village or Westlake and further on out. So on this side of the street you have several food places. Bombay Shot, it's an Indian place. There's also Pulp Juice and Smoothie Bar. Several years ago, before the pandemic, there was a Finucci's Italian place, but that is no longer there. Christian Science Reading Room, and then if you're interested in getting your Amazon packages delivered near campus, you can have it sent to this location here. Next to Amazon, it's currently vacated. The last thing that was in here, I believe, was a small rock climbing gym, but that disappeared. Then after that, you've got Brothers Printing. I've never used it, but that's been a staple here for a long time. We are going to, of course, go across the street to the other side and talk about some of the buildings over there. But there's the communications building right there. Also one of the green spaces. And then there's a Longship food truck, which several people are enjoying right now. Over to my left, you've got Two different places right here. Aisha's Cupcake Cafe serves empanadas, smoothies, boba, cotton candy. I haven't been in there yet. There's the full list of goodies that they say they serve. This has been, again, several things. Used to be Jimmy John's. Then it was Enjoy, which I really loved Enjoy. But that, one day just went away. And then here is currently Tailgate Sports Bar and Grill. I've had burgers there a couple of times. It's a nice presence inside, but I seldom see it, seldom see a lot of customers in that. But that's been a effect since after the pandemic. A lot of these places it's impossible to see the customer base that they used to have. But there used to be I'm forgetting the name of the chain that used to be in there. There used to be a former burger place in there as well. And then over here you've got Bon Appetit, nice local place, and it also shares the space with Casa Kitchen and Catering, but I know they have like a little line where you can make bowls of food. Bon Appetit, I had a sandwich there once. The Health line always runs down Euclid Avenue, though sometimes you have to be careful if you're not familiar with it. There's certain stations along Euclid that serve both eastbound and westbound, but on the CSU campus, this one only goes westbound. So if you're trying to go into downtown Cleveland, you got to be here. But if you're trying to go further east, it will not stop here. You got to go back to where we were, like around East 21st Street, and catch it there. Right here is a food and beverage, your typical convenience store. This is where I go if I'm ever in need of a quick lottery ticket in a pinch, because they sell lottery tickets. And then Rascal House Pizza, a classic for many, many years. Like I said, it used to be at that other location. This building also belongs to Cleveland State University, and they have some offices that are still in here. Let's go ahead and grab a quick slice. Got our 2 slices, 1 pepperoni and 1 cheese. See, I always love Rascal House Pizza. I think back when I was a student in 2007. So 2017, like about 18 years I've been going to Rascal House Pizza. It's crazy. Alright, just finished at Rascal House, eating my 2 slices. There's Marino's haircutting. I recommend them if you need a haircut. I've been there probably 3 times. Usually you can get in a quick pinch, get your hair done, you do a nice job. Right here, Friends Circle used to be Pizza Pan, where they would do their dollar slices on Monday, but again, another victim of when the pandemic happened. You got the Comfort Inn Hotel. And then, the Subway location here is finally gone. That's news to me. I was going to say there's a Subway right here. And that's been here since I've been a student, I assume well below before that. We've moved to 1849 Prospect. We'll be opening close to April 21st. So it makes it sound like they're moving a block down. There's also... Yeah, so Prospect is down that way, and this is East 18th Street. So interesting that they're going to be moving nearby. Prospect doesn't have a lot of the Cleveland State University footprint on it, but it does have the Wolstein Center a little bit further back. Here's Dunkin' Donuts presence that recently moved in at the Edge, one of the student housing locations on campus. Way back, there used to be some type of cultural presence here, a building that wasn't being utilized, but it was still sitting here for a while. And then when they tore that down, that's when the Edge got built. It wasn't initially owned by Cleveland State University, but I think they took it over within the past couple of years. And then when you approach East 17th Street, that's when you enter the Playhouse Square area. So you essentially leave where Cleveland State University is. I've done a ton of videos on downtown Cleveland, so if you are a prospective student and you want to learn more about what downtown has to offer, be sure to check out other videos on my channel. But that's where you start off, Playhouse Square, as well as a lot of other places to eat. For example, there's another Starbucks down there. Corbo's Bakery is a delight to eat at right next to the Connor Palace State Theater. You got the Grand Chandelier, and then of course you just keep on going further in downtown where you have all the sporting venues, Tower City, Sherwin-Williams headquarters, and so on and so forth. But now let's head back up Euclid, starting with the Levin College of Public Affairs and Education building. If you're curious what some of these buildings look like indoors, I think I covered most of them in a Cleveland State University campus tour video that I did a couple of years ago. And for the most part, the interior should be the same. A lot of these buildings end up being connected by an interlink, so you can get from the urban building to the Monte College of Business, which is that building over there, and where many of my classes were as a student back in the day. And then if you want to keep walking through the campus without going outside, which is especially useful during inclement weather and cold seasons, you can take the interlink and keep on going down to the law building. If you're interested in taking the Healthline up and down Euclid Avenue, recommend a day pass, which is $5, and you get to ride any RTA bus or train all day. Or if you are a CSU student, the price of a semester-long bus pass is included, I believe, in your admission, unless they've changed something with that. Surprised to see the Longship food truck with as many people dining at it as there are, although some people may just be enjoying the sit-down option. This is a temporary art structure here where you can sit down and take a sort of a portrait picture, although you need someone else to really be snapping the photo. And there's a hand crank on the other side. If you crank it up, it plays music and lights up the exterior of it. There's the Wolstein Center that I neglected to mention earlier. There used to be a building in between those areas, so you couldn't see through it, but when they tore that down a long time ago, you could see straight through. Wolstein Center, home to various events, including the basketball games for men and women, and occasional outside sporting events use the Wolstein Center. Right now it's not the most well kept. Usually this is so meticulously taken care of where it says CSU, but you've got a couple of random branches in there. I'm sure they'll get to it, but it's usually a nice photo opportunity if you're visiting the campus. Especially at some times of the year, maybe a little bit as spring goes along, some of those more flowers around it are going to bloom up. So now we're back to East 21st Street, somewhat close to where we began the video. But now we're closer up to the Student Center. And where the Student Center is located, that's where University Center, or the old birdcage, used to be before they tore that down to make way for the newer building. I was a student, I think in my second year, when they started tearing down the old building, and then the new one, meaning this one here, was completed by my third or fourth year. By the way, the temperature today is about, let's see, we're supposed to get up to near 70. Let's see if it actually reached that. It says 68 degrees Fahrenheit right now. So very nice mid-April day in Cleveland. Day before tax day. And even though this video is not going inside, I'm going to try to work my way around the campus and still end up looping back around where we need to be to cover as much of it as we can. This is the Student Center Plaza, or University Plaza. I forget if there's an official name for it, but they also will have various events here, and it's often a nice gathering space for students in between classes. I'm not sure if the fountain is functional lately, or I think they may be doing some repairs on it. They also used to have the college names on the fountain, but because they recently renamed a lot of the colleges, those aren't there anymore. But again, there's the Student Center. And if I turn over here, this whole building here is main classroom. The label up there says Jack Joseph and Morton Mandel Honors College. And not to say that the Honors College doesn't have a presence there, it does, but it's a little bit of a misnomer because a lot of your general education classes are located in this building. And there's another one of the interlinks that connects many of the buildings. The University Center interlink used to be a little bit closer to Euclid Avenue, and it connected to the main classroom. They moved the interlink over when they built the new building. You got the elevator below the clock tower, and then Rhodes Tower, which is home to a lot of departmental offices still, and University Central IT department. And then the first 4 levels, meaning mostly this building here, is the Michael Shorts Library. I forgot to say earlier that the University Bookstore is located in the Student Center behind me. It's been so long since I've been a student now that I wonder how much the landscape of textbooks has changed. There was still very much that you needed to buy, like the physical copy, when I was a student. I wonder if, and that was a industry of its own with how ridiculous the prices were. I wonder if any of that has changed to electronic books, or personally, I feel like it's immensely easier to have a physical book in front of you. for whatever reason, when I had a textbook electronically, it was just my attention span wasn't the same. This is Rhodes West. It's not super popular, but there are a few floors of classroom space located in here. And then this is one of the heavily used parking garages at the university. So now we're sort of working our way a little bit back toward downtown, and there's a method to the madness you'll see in a second, or a little more than a second. When I get to the end of this parking garage, I'm going to take the stairway down. And after I take the stairway down, I'm going to make a right-hand turn and head toward Chester. They have a couple of cones here, but it doesn't seem like they're blocking off the stairs. So I took this every day when I was a student to run between main classroom rooms and cut through the law building, go over to the business building. And again, for some perspective, there's Euclid Avenue again and that food truck that we just saw. Law building has a little bit of a courtyard. But now if we head toward Chester, the CSU police building and the canines are located here. They have buttons throughout campus and information that you can have, like an app and or phone to dial for help if you ever need it. So there's always appeared to be a good police presence on campus. Now we are making our way towards some of the athletic fields on campus. Krensler Field. Home of the CSU soccer team. And again, to loop back for some more perspective, where we saw the business building earlier and the urban building was on the same block, this is the back side of the business building. I used to have one of my student offices when I was a student worker was up there on the 5th floor looking out this way or this way. Distinctly remember when gridlock happened during one winter storm. It was the craziest thing, and it was the last time it had ever happened. The snow came so suddenly, and it was like right at rush hour, and everything around here was gridlocked, even here with cars, and especially further in. So I wish I had a YouTube thing or presence back then, because it was crazy. Like here, you would see all the cars, nothing but cars stuck, like there was no movement. And then I was able to get out of downtown because I was a walker and taking the train, so I walked down Euclid Avenue. And the whole way walking, you just see cars frozen, not moving an inch the entire way. You know, amidst all the snow that was there too. Let's go a little bit closer to Krenzler Field here. They ask you to stay off the grass, but we can take this little sidewalk up to the fence. Got a couple of spring cherry blossom trees here. Yeah, very nice field. I mean, there are opportunities for like intramural sports or various other organizations to use this field too. I've never done that myself, but I know that does happen. So it's not just only for the soccer team, but I don't know the methods to go about utilizing it. Sometimes with the signage on campus, you'll still see some old school signs or logos that haven't changed, and one of them is the sign for Krenzler Field there. You can see it still has the, I'll call it, ancient CSU logo and font type. And over to our left is the CSU softball team, their field. Oh, this is cool too. They've finally switched to pay stations for where the parking meters are, so you can pay electronically. It looks like it's solar powered. I think you can take this path partway down to get a little better glimpse of the softball field. And then this dome that you see to your left is the Medical Mutual Pavilion. Underneath the pavilion are tennis courts, which you can look online to see about rental options to get in there and play tennis. There is a dome just like this that during the winter months they put up over Krenzler Field, and that's how they're able to hold activities during the winter on the field. But this tennis one stays up permanently. Didn't used to be permanent, but they got a donation from, I assume Medical Mutual many years ago, and that has been a permanent structure since then. Now we're back to East 21st Street in Chester. You can see the Langston. Back 2007 and before that, I think this was just empty parking lots. And now they've been around for a while, but it's hard, during those, 18 years I've been on campus, I still think of things as relatively new if I saw them built in my lifetime or my tenure here. But this is student housing. I'm trying to think. I definitely know the Langston also, like the Edge, started off as independent, but I'm not clear if CSU also overtook the Langston. I feel like they did at some point, but don't quote me on that. Looking back across, we now got Rhodes Tower again from the street level. and the library underneath it. And then that section over there would be an elevator or stairway that you can go to main classroom. So once you cross East 22nd Street, you have more storefronts, or a few storefronts, although it looks like one of them that I was going to highlight is gone. Yeah, and the Langston does go pretty decently back. My impression is that the Langston is supposed to be a little nicer facilities. Oh yeah, it's a bummer to see this is gone. Arby's is no longer here. I've been going to Arby's occasionally during my lunch breaks over the years, and they had a presence on the corner, but it says permanently closed. They still have next to it Yum Village and a sign for Bank of America. I don't know if this is an actual branch or just for the ATMs. I think it's just the ATMs. And then they have Pizza Hut still there, and looks like a couple other vacancies. So there's still opportunity to grow the retail front down here, but some of these have been vacant for many years, so I wouldn't expect it to suddenly surge in occupancy. The Arby's one is a little bit of a surprise because anytime I popped in there were, it was frequently that you'd be, not a super long line, but it would be any time of the day there would be like, 3 or 4 customers in line. Now, if we look across the street, you have the Washkowitz College of Engineering building. That's the newest building on campus. I think the Chester building used to have a lot of that footprint, and they tore that down to expand the College of Engineering, and very nice inside how they're able to have modern labs. And at East 24th Street in Chester, you have the Cleveland State University Recreation Center. I still, even though it's been around for over 20 years, I still refer to it as a state-of-the-art facility. I was just in there earlier today briefly. The basketball courts, the workout equipment, the track, the swimming pool. It's all excellent facilities. And then over there you have the Plant Services building, where they have like property control and various other university maintenance functions. So we'll cross back over to the predominant side of campus now. At Chester, between Chester and Euclid is where you have all of like the campus buildings and such. And then once you get to East 24th, that mostly ends near the Chester side. And while we're here, let's take a look at the campus map. Hopefully this is updated. We began the video right here on Euclid Avenue. This was the College of Health building and the Student Center. We walked down this way, had Rascal House here, continued, and then this would have been Playhouse Square. We turned. There are a couple of like theater type things within Playhouse Square that we didn't necessarily mention, but I turned and showed the urban building, the business building. This is just a parking garage. The law building, continued on that music and communications building, student center. Then I didn't cover this yet, we're going to get to that. I went into the student center plaza up here, looked at main classroom, Rhodes Tower, the library. And then I went in across Central Garage, went down here to where the campus police building is. We walked to this corner, showed Krensler Field, the softball diamond, tennis courts, continued walking down this way. Yeah, so maybe the Langston isn't part of CSU since it's not on the map, but this would have been like the Langston and those properties The Washkowitz new engineering building is right here, and this is the recreation center. So that's the reason I ended up backtracking here, so that I wouldn't have to like tail back and finish over here. So what we have left to cover is a little bit of this area and then wrap up going back that way. Outside the rec center and various other parts of campus, you have nice bike rack facilities where you can lock your bike up, or scooter, I guess. And even here they have, I don't know if there's any more of these on campus, but it's nice that they have like bike tools that you can service your bike. Inside of this building would be where the swimming pool is located. And then this is the old Fenn Hall. So there's still engineering facilities in there. So it's really both buildings, the new one and the old one, that combine for the engineering. Over here to your left is the Woodling Gym physical education building. And underneath the physical education building, there's more like classroom or lab facilities, kind of like hidden and buried away from everything. This is CSU's oldest building on campus, Fenn Tower. So it used to be the actual college in 1964 when it was launched. But then it was over time converted to student housing, and there was question about, that's why you see the fencing around it. There were some structural issues last year that arose. They had to make sure no students were occupying it. They were considering converting part of Rhodes Tower into student housing and maybe shutting this down, but eventually they recently announced that they are going to rehab this and reopen it, I think in fall 2026. There's also some nice architecture and ballroom space in there. Normally I was going to go that way, but they've got Cleveland Public Power there at the moment, so I'm just cutting across the grass here. I'm gonna have to detour slightly from what I would typically do when walking. I'm gonna backtrack and talk about some of these buildings in a little bit. First, I wanna continue on this way. I guess I could talk about a little bit of it. These are Euclid Commons, another housing presence on campus. On the corner here is the Market on Euclid. I haven't been inside that, but it's supposed to be like a grab and go concept, similar to how Amazon has their certain stores where you go in, grab and scan items, and it charges them to your thing, and then you're able to just exit with no cashier presence. I think they still call it Jokel Hall. So there's Jokel Hall. The reason I was saying I think is because when they ended up merging and combining some departments and colleges a year or so ago, some of these buildings became like multi-purpose, whereas this used to be known as kind of like the education building, but now it's sort of the old urban and education combined. So that's why the signage says both. It also mentioned the College of Health, so a little bit of College of Health has a presence located there. And when you see the Cleveland State University beacon, you know you've reached another part of the end of campus. But one of the original millionaires' mansions still exists and is a building on campus. Mather Mansion right there. Unless it's changed, the alumni office is located in there, as well as a few other small offices, and it's a nice event space and green space for certain events that take place. I know the Alumni Association used to do a year-end grad party there. I've also been to a fundraising, like Christmas party that was located there, and ends up being like a nice quiet space on the end of campus where you can have both indoor and outdoor. Again, here's the Euclid Commons building with student housing. Now these ones are definitely from the get-go were Cleveland State University owned. There's a welcome center on campus. This wasn't built when I was here, so I can't quite comment what exactly they do there, but it does say undergraduate admissions. The CSU bookstore, the old CSU bookstore, if I'm not mistaken, was located, I think, right there. And that was still around when I was a student. So my first year and a half, that's where I went into to get books from. I'm sure a lot of former students have fond memories of that. And in our last couple of buildings, we've got the CSU Parker Hanifin Administration Building right here. This is where like the provost and president's office are, and a few other functions like HR, more stuff that are internal to the university. They also last year converted the old Elements into Viking Public House, which is supposed to be probably like the most high-end restaurant on campus. And they also have a courtyard here, not courtyard, but a place for food. Oh look, one of the CSU dogs is out right now. The police canines. Over there's the Science and Research Center plaza and the building, and then that's more of main classroom with Rhodes Tower behind it. And then last but not least, you have Parker Hanifin Hall, also one of the original millionaires' mansions on campus. And then last but not least, to round things off, you've got the Veteran and Military Resource Center. You still have an active subway location here. I always did find it a little bit overkill to have two subway locations, so I'm sure this one will get a bit busier if people were into subway. And then Cafe Aroma, a nice local place that people like to have sandwiches, coffee, and small pastries. And on the corner you've got, not this one's not affiliated with CSU, but a Trinity Commons Church, Trinity Cathedral. Yep, and that brings us back to our starting point at Euclid and East 22nd. So if you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and we will see you next time.